Interesting time for Master Duel players right now. So this is the new OCG ban list after Mulcharmy Purulia came out in the OCG, and this has me a little bit worried. So we can take a quick look at the list here, but what's on the list doesn't matter to me as much as what's not on the list. That's what's really worrying me here, is what is not on the list. So that's why I really wanted to talk about this. I'm a little bit worried for the future of Master Duel now. If you guys are familiar, I made a video, I don't know if it was a couple months ago, where the Mulcharmy archetype, my theory was that they were making this archetype as a way to finally ban Maxx. Konami was looking at Maxx like, okay, we feel that there's a necessity to have a card like Maxx in the game, but Maxx clearly is overtuned, so we're going to make an archetype of like weaker Maxx to kind of phase out Maxx and just remove it from the game entirely. So like, just as a refresher of Purulia, this card clearly meant to be kind of a Maxx replacement. Well, at least that's what it felt like when you're reading the effect. And it seems like the whole archetype was about to be kind of meant to phase out Maxx. So if you control no cards, quick effect, you can discard this card, apply these effects for the rest of this turn. Each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster from the hand specifically, draw one card. During the end phase, if you have more cards in your hand than the number of cards your opponent controls, plus 6, shuffle random cards from your hand into the deck equal to the difference. They were kind of attempting to, what it seemed to me, make a more balanced version of a Maxx. And I feel like what they were most likely going for here, because they are talking about Mulcharmy monsters, implying there will be an archetype. My guess was that this was meant to prepare for multiple Mulcharmys that would draw cards from summons from different areas. So I figured there'd be a Mulcharmy that draws a card when your opponent summons from the grave, and one when your opponent summons from the deck or the extra deck. And my idea was that basically you're gonna have to like side Mulcharmys to kind of have like the proper one for the proper opponent, or you're gonna want to run like 2 Mulcharmys to get a good amount of draws. So like you'll want like 1 for the deck and then 1 for the hand, let's say, or something like that, depending on the matchup. That was kind of the idea I was getting, that they were trying to balance out the concept of Maxx as basically a game mechanic, which is really what Maxx is. Honestly, it has such a huge effect on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh that I feel like it kind of counts more so as a mechanic. So if they feel like they need that mechanic, I thought this was supposed to be a way to kind of like, you know, just lower its power level a little bit. Now, unfortunately, if we look at the new OCG ban list, what has me worried is they didn't ban it. Mulcharmy Purulia has been in OCG for a bit, so we've been waiting for a while to see what are they going to do. Are they going to ban Maxx in OCG now that they have basically a really much weaker version of Maxx in the game, and they're kind of implying that they're going to turn that into a whole archetype, and it seems like unfortunately that's not what they're going for here. As you can see on the ban list, they banned Kaiser Coliseum and Catapult Turtle. They limited summon limit, you know, Snake Ash, SP, Beatrice, which I think was used with Fiendsmith, right? And they like released, I think, a couple of the Dragon Rulers. They put Bonfire to 2. And they removed Colossus, Glow of Bloom, Ib. I love this card, by the way. I forgot the name though. Time Seal. Time Seal is funny that it was ever on the list. It used to be really broken, but this card has been asked for ages. The ban list itself, I don't actually have any issues with. I don't think like the hits they're doing or anything are really a big deal. What I think is a big deal is what they didn't hit, which is Maxx, which leads me to believe that potentially we in Master Duel, since our format is more so closely tied to the OCG than the TCG, despite being different than both, now I really don't know if they ever plan on banning Maxx. We might be stuck with it forever, and I think that's really, really bad. Really, really bad for the game. It even has me a little bit anxious because I'm kind of at my wit's end with that card, where like I'm like, okay, there's too much anxiety playing any like fun or cool deck pretty much in Master Duel from that card alone. As a game mechanic, to me it's just so broken to have Maxx in the format, and now I'm just really worried that we're just never going to see it banned. We're just never going to see it hit at all. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. that I just don't know what to expect, honestly. So this recent OCG ban list has me really worried. Now I do want to get some of your opinions in the chat, because I know there's some people that are cool with Maxx that don't want to see it replaced with the Purulia archetype, or I mean the Mulcharmy archetype. So I mean, first off, we'll go with Johnny over here, because he's dropping the hot take that people love. So Maxx should never be banned. Yu-Gi-Oh is a game where you prevent your opponent from playing Omni Negates, hand traps, etc. Draws are very dangerous since you might be giving your opponent the out. However, Maxx gives you the choice to decide how far in your combo you want to. It's up to you to decide how many cards you give your opponent. This is a really, really unfair take, in my opinion. The reality is that Maxx just makes decks that put up more interruptions with less summons better. But it doesn't like it doesn't, because you're talking about Omni Negates and hand traps and all this stuff. That stuff is available to decks that summon less too. What you're doing with a card like Maxx is you're just like taking decks that summon a lot and you're just gimping them, even if their board is not necessarily more threatening or more dominant than anything else, you know? Like my example for that would be like Salamangreat into Maxx versus like Labyrinth into Maxx. Labyrinth without Maxx sets up just as crazy of a board as Salamangreat without Maxx. But Labyrinth with Maxx sets up the same fucking board, and Salamangreat sets up nothing with Maxx. And you can pretend that you choose how many draws you give your opponent. The reality is that you choose nothing. What you choose is to pass on nothing. Like, let's say you're playing Salamangreat. It's not, I'm choosing to give you 1 or 2 draws. It's, I'm choosing to not play at all, because if I give you even 3 draws, I'm most likely losing, and my board will still have nothing. Or I can choose to summon 16 times, give you 16 cards, and I know my board will do nothing into 16 cards. So that is not true. That is bullshit. When people say you're choosing how many draws you give your opponent, that is not true. Oh, that's true as well, Zoltor. And if you go second, you literally have no choice but to give your opponent the draws and try to go for game. Otherwise, you just pass on nothing and die on turn 3. Yeah, this guy's saying, I'm here to bring the unfortunate truth, Master Duel will never ban Maxx. See, now I have the feeling that that is probably true. Well, Master Duel will be a game where you have Mulcharmy Purulia, you have Maxx, and later potentially more Mulcharmies, and they're not trying to replace the mechanic of Maxx. They want to keep it. That's the vibe I'm getting now. Okay, here's another take. I know this guy loves the hot takes. So Main says, Maxx being banned means a lot of decks would need to be nerfed. A lot of decks still need to be nerfed, do need to be nerfed. I don't really, that's not an argument, man. Can you back that up a little bit more? Can you like expand on that a little bit? A ton of decks do need to be nerfed right now with Maxx, and that'll still be the case without Maxx. Is that a problem? I don't know. I don't know if that's a problem. Maxx helps us draw the out to broken decks. The broken deck also gets to draw more outs to your shitty deck. So like, what argument is that? What kind of argument is that? The broken deck is running it too. The broken deck is fucking drawing 15 when you're playing fucking Blackwings, or you're passing on nothing in Blackwings, let's say. Like, what's your point? It doesn't mean anything. Like, okay, main, I'll say it like this to make it make more sense. Pot of Greed helps you draw into the out to broken decks. And we're not out here trying to pretend Pot of Greed should be legal. And if we are, well, we're just saying nonsense, right? That's kind of what I mean. Should other hand traps other than Maxx be banned? No, I don't think so. The only other hand trap that I really hate is Dimensional Shifter. The thing about Shifter, though, so it has this lingering effect that lasts 2 turns, which means that your deck needs to be well suited for Shifter to be able to play it, and it has the downside of being unactivatable once you have any card in your graveyard. Now, the card is insane, it's broken, potentially the 2nd best hand trap ever printed, but at least it has some actual real downsides that limit the amount of decks that can play it and the scenarios in which you can play it, and it becomes a really huge brick as soon as you have any card in your graveyard. So I would say right now, no, we don't need any other hand trap banned. Not any other hand trap needs to be banned. But Maxx, not only it's not even a thing of it needs to be banned, it's bad game design not to ban it. and they're not doing it. And I don't think they will do it. I'm not going to say it needs to be banned because it doesn't. The game is right here. Obviously, it doesn't need to be banned. Nothing needs to be banned, I guess. If they were designing their game well, they would ban it. If they wanted their game to be good, they would ban it. No, Maxi is not better than Shifter in a vacuum. It is better than Shifter, period. You're just thinking about your decks, and you're the one thinking in a vacuum here about Shifter. If you ever shifted branded Despia and your opponent was actually good, you would know. No, I'm right there with you, chat. I also think they're not going to ban Maxi. I'm genuinely sad about it too. Like, I'm genuinely worried for Master Duel in the sense that I have been able to do something that I've wanted to do all of high school, which is like have a YouTube channel and have an audience and have people that I can discuss Yu-Gi-Oh with and everything. And that was really exciting for me because I've loved Yu-Gi-Oh pretty much my whole life, and I always would talk about it to friends. And obviously at some point those friends got sick of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I was still out here just consuming Yu-Gi-Oh content. And at some point I was like, why not just make my own, you know? And that's been really great, and it's been kind of awesome to have that experience of being a YouTuber. And I'm even able to do it full time this year, although it's pretty tight and I don't know how long that's gonna last, but it's been really, really cool. And I'm really worried that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep going if they drop like Mulcharmy and Maxi's still in the game, and it's just always the same type of like anxious gameplay, you know? Like, I'm really tired of the anxious gameplay. I know that sounds a bit like melodramatic, but at the end of the day, that's what the game mechanic does, you know? Like, if you want to win and there's something that will stop you from winning that's like always creeping around the corner, it's almost like a fucking horror game playing Master Duel, man. Maxi's a goddamn jump scare. It's terrifying. it's genuinely like it reminds me of horror games. The feeling I get from a fucking Maxi. It's not like, and I love horror games. But they're not competitive games. You know, horror games are not meant to be balanced. So, in Resident Evil 2 remake, when you have Mr. X who's fucking broken and chasing you and way stronger than you and all that, that makes sense for that game because that game is not supposed to be balanced. In Yu-Gi-Oh, having the Maxi jump scare, which is a jump scare because it's so unbalanced, that's not a good game design for a competitive game, you know? Mr. X's Maxi, that's what I'm saying, is just poor game design at the end of the day. It's like, no one likes it. Or the people that like it never have a good explanation. Yu-Gi-Oh is not balanced. 90% of the games end on turn 1. Those two statements genuinely have nothing to do with each other. And also, neither are completely true or completely false. No actual competitive game other than literally a mirror match of the exact same situation on both sides is balanced. Like Street Fighter, unless you're playing Ryu versus Ryu, the game is not balanced. It's balanced in the sense that they all have their pros and cons, but in that sense, Yu-Gi-Oh is balanced too. Everything has its pros and cons, you know? The issue is cards that are unbalanced. Just like how you need to ban, just like how in Street Fighter 6, if a move is unbalanced and way too broken, you need to patch that move and nerf it. In Yu-Gi-Oh, we would need either a Maxi ban or a Maxi nerf, i.e. a really strong errata. We would need one or the other to have a good mechanic out of Maxi. And I think you can make Maxi a good mechanic. I think it's possible. Does Chummy see play in OCG? Why would it see play if they don't ban Maxi, main? It's just worse Maxi. Everything about Mulcharmy Purulia's design implies that it's there to replace a card that's better than it. TCG has Maxi banned and the game is still not balanced, so Maxi is not the problem. No. See, because now you're just taking the conversation and sending it somewhere that it's not. We're not talking about balancing the game. We're talking about an unbalanced card and a game mechanic that is Maxi. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm not trying to rescue Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm trying to rescue my fun. I'm trying to make myself enjoy the game. I'm trying to go, Here's why this game mechanic is bad and why it makes the game shitty for me. I don't care that the game is not balanced. I actually don't give a shit if a game is not balanced, if the game is fun. It just makes me anxious while playing Master Duel Ladder. And every time that there's an event in Master Duel where Maxi is banned, I remember why I like Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, oh, right. I don't have this fucking impending doom anxiety while playing this fucking event. It is absolutely a ridiculous game-ending card, as well as an oppressive turn 2 supplement for your fucking board. It's just, there's nothing fair, or it's not even fair, because no good Yu-Gi-Oh card is fair. It's just not fun. It's not it makes Yu-Gi-Oh more stressful, like genuinely stressful. I don't know about you guys, maybe I'm tripping, but in ranked ladder, having to think about Maxi is stressful, and it's a reason that a lot of people just play Stunt, or a lot of people just play Labyrinth, because they don't want to worry about it, and that makes sense. But then that limits the amount of decks you can actually have fun with in Master Duel, and it's also depends on what you actually have fun playing. I don't really have fun playing a deck like Stun. You hate trap decks, stall decks, stun decks. Yeah, but the people play those decks because the game is designed to promote playing them if you want to actually not be fucking anxious when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Nib was a way better way of punishing the player for summoning too much. And I think you could argue that Nib is too weak, you know? Because it's too easy to get a negate before 5 summons. And I could understand that argument. So I can totally empathize with that. At that point, that's why I think we could have a card like Mulcharmy Purulia, which just literally is Maxx C but way weaker. And I think that'd be fine to give you a better chance of drawing into your nib or into extra hand traps so that you can nib and imperm, stuff like that. Sure, you got to look the other way for your sanity. Yeah, well, see what's happening to me now is that I get into ladder, I play, and I get Maxx C'd, and I feel like disgust with the game. Like, I feel disgust. I'm like, why am I playing this? Like, that's the feeling I get. So it makes it really hard to be passionate about the game, which I've always been passionately talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And everything. But, you know, streaming this game fucking every week and, you know, talking about it all the time, and every time I play it, always having this like worry in the back of my head that I'm gonna get Maxx C'd. Could I name any positives about Maxx C? I think there are ways to make a Maxx C that makes sense. I can name positives about Maxx C. The problem is it's not about Maxx C itself. It's about the idea of Maxx C. Like a game mechanic where you get draws for your opponent going crazy on a combo makes sense. That's fine. That's why I think... What do you mean, what's my solution? They made the solution. It's Mulcharmy Purulia. They released it, and then they didn't ban Maxx C, which means that they didn't fucking use their own solution that they literally printed. Maybe they're just waiting to ban it once all of them are released copium. No, you're right. You're right. No, guys, it's gonna get banned for sure. We just need 5 more Purulias. We just need 5 more Mulcharmys, and they're gonna ban Maxx C. Trust. That's the one. Yeah.